the crops and farming field.
But okay, so what's great about these meetings is that every question you ask is recorded. So even if Tabiso might not be here right now, we will send the recording to him and he might be able to assist you on your personal time. But great news that we have Jessica back. We have Jessica Cresco back. So Miss Cresco, can you please continue where you left off?
Hello. So how far did we get on WhatsApp?
Just start where you want, sis. Where the spirit is telling you. Just say what you may.
All right. All right. No, no problem. So, just to add on to what the other speakers were saying, is that as we were facilitating digital skills courses, right, and your end user computing, what we found is that, yes, we're teaching people how to use Word and Excel, your PowerPoints, and so forth, all of the basics for end user computing. And every year, those same students, they finish, yes, but they're waiting for somebody to hire them, essentially. So, your certificate is just a piece of paper. And what we changed was not the curriculum, but rather using the same tools and changing the question that we have in mind when facilitating our offering. So instead of teaching the students how to use Excel to pass their exams, we decided, you know what, let's teach people how to use Excel to actually make money for them. And that shift, like it really changes everything for the students. So now it's no longer about data capturing so that you can get a data capturing job, but rather how are you creating an inventory management system for a small business, for example, or an invoicing system? And how do you get somebody to pay you to set that up? So even PowerPoint, instead of using it just for your assignments, for example, now our students are creating pitch decks and training materials that they can actually sell to other organizations. Even with the simple thing like Microsoft Word, instead of just learning how to type and that being it, now we teach them, oh, okay, how about getting into the mindset of creating a proposal template or business documents that can save your small business owners hours of work, right? So beyond the syllabus, we even go into things like your Canvas or ChatGPT and some automation tools like Zapier, for example, because that's what's needed in the future of work, right? It's about what you can deliver. And not just in teaching students how to find a job, but also about how to create opportunities. And that has made all the difference. So when we ask people, what do you think digital skills means? What is digital skills? They think, oh, you need to be like a programmer, you need to learn how to code, you need a certain type of degree, like a computer science degree, for example. They think you need a laptop. That's not true. And with the young entrepreneurs, rather, they have that entrepreneurial spirit. They want to start a business and they think, no, you know what? I need capital. Everybody says they need capital, they need funding, right? Other people think that they need connections, when really you need to be ready to start, right? The most valuable skill, in my opinion, anyway, in this digital economy is going to be learning and knowing how to learn. Also, knowing how to adapt whatever it is your qualification is, how to adapt it to new booming industries. For example, you could be in marketing, but how about adapting that marketing skill for the energy sector? And that is how you're going to create value. And I think that's something that every single person that is in this room right now, you already know how to do that. You already have the capacity for it, right? Then we think about where we are now. For example, Africa's digital economy, yes, it's growing right now, but the youth are not the main beneficiaries. Who's benefiting from Africa's digital economy right now? It's your telecoms companies, the tech giants, right? And it's these small but established entrepreneurs. The youth, they're not benefiting. And I think it was, who was it? One of the previous speakers, though, sorry, one of the previous speakers mentioned this, that when it comes to the youth, we have the 60% unemployment rate. And the scariest part is that it's not that they don't have access to the digital economy, but rather most of the time is spent in streaming, it's scrolling online, you're spending online. But not many people are on the earning side of this equation, right? So this economy, the digital economy, is growing, but it's growing around them and not because of them. This is something that we need to change. So when it comes to digital literacy and the digital economy, I would say it's not just about using your smartphone, but what you're doing with it. We have people who have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, But what are they doing? They're viewing and consuming content instead of monetizing their platforms. There are people who are chatting on WhatsApp when really you can have a WhatsApp business account and have your profile on there. There are people who are searching on Google, and there are people who are being found on your Googles and your LinkedIns. So we all have the same phone, same tools, same apps, but we're getting completely different outcomes. And it's not the tool, ultimately, it's knowledge of how to use it. So I can go on, give examples about HR graduates, for example. You studied HR, you complete your qualification, that was 3 to 4 years, learning about how people work, how organizations work, how to write policies, how to run interviews, and how to manage conflict. Fine. You have that knowledge there, and it is extremely valuable, right? And what these HR graduates, just an example, what they don't consider is that most small businesses, they can't afford a full-time HR person. So that right there is the opening. You can be a fractional HR consultant, for example. You can get these SMEs, write contracts for them, draft policies, have onboarding documents for them, do their disciplinary processes for them. And all of this can be done remotely. You can be drafting your HR templates and posting them on Gumroad, for example. You can start your own passive income, maybe start a LinkedIn, do your personal branding, do coaching services. You can be posting about whatever, CV reviews. You can help people with interview prep sessions. And this is an easy 500 to 1.5 that you can make off of these services. That's how people need to start thinking, not just in HR, even in marketing. For example, you studied how to make people buy things. So how about doing your social media management for local businesses, for small businesses? And that could be maybe 2,000 to 5,000 Rand a month, where you're using just Canva, ChatGPT, but you're building a clientele off of that. You can be running paid ads for maybe 3,000 Rand a month. You can be a user generated content creator on TikTok, but making 500 Rand, 3,000 Rand. And also doing brand strategy, for example, for different startups. There's so much that can be done in the digital economy. Then, just lastly, as a person who's in IT, I studied IT, and something that the IT graduates don't know, or maybe they don't know, but they do know, but rather they focus on finding employment instead of creating their own opportunities, is that you have platforms like your Cursor, or Bolt, or Lovable, or VO, right? Where you just describe what you want to build, and the AI tools are able to build these things for you. So yes, you have a technical background, and this is great because it helps you move faster now. We can do things like vibe coding, for example. For those who don't know what vibe coding is, it's building an AI tool, right? It's using an AI tool. You describe your product idea or your app idea, then the tool is going to write the code for you, and you're just guiding, reviewing, and refining. So something that used to take months to do can be done in the course of a weekend. And people are already doing this over the weekend, building businesses using Claude Code, and they're building SaaS products or micro SaaS products. They're creating several revenue streams. They're doing website building, like what SA Biz is doing here. We're offering free websites to the attendees of this Imbizo. There are so many opportunities there. You can automate businesses, especially like your SMEs. You can do some AI implementation as a consultant. There's really a lot that can be done. And what I want people to take away is that you don't need a qualification. All you need is skill and that desire to do something better. You need skill, desire, and don't worry so much about the CV. Rather focus on what value you can create, and whatever it is that you want to do, what you enjoy doing, figure out who needs this product or service, and there you have a business that you can set up. So thank you, everyone. I'm open to questions.
Thank you so much. That was a powerful speech, Miss Maleka. That was a very powerful speech. Now I see a hand from Asbongi. You can come in, Asbongi. I don't know if you have a question for Miss Maleka. Please let us know.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Obonyewe. I'm a founder of an NPO called Not a Disability but Ability Foundation, which aims at bringing advocacy to the neurodivergent community, which is your autism spectrum disorder. So my question is, what inclusion are you guys fostering in your own businesses now? Because the digital world is evolving and people that are neurodivergent are always left behind. So now I'm asking that in your capacity, in your own individual, and it's a question for anyone in the panel, in your own field of work and your experience, so what are you doing to foster inclusion, especially for neurodivergent people? More especially because of history has taught us that they are actually brilliant in the digital world. So, because you have your founder of Apple, you have your founder of Microsoft, you have your Elon Musk, who are neurodivergent, which proves that they are actually an asset in terms of the neurodivergency. So, what in your own capacity are you doing to include neurodivergent people in your field?
No, I think that's a very, very important question, Ausbongi. Funny enough, Ausbongi, Jessica and Ausbongi, I met them at the 100 Shining Stars in South Africa. So it's funny that you guys, we're in the same room. It's actually great. But yeah, question for anyone in the panel. We can ask Patunya, I don't know if you want to take it, but anyone, Khomolemo, anyone in the panel, how are we using technology to be more inclusive towards, neurodivergent people, autism, people in the autism space? How are we using our platforms to be more inclusive? Anyone from the panel who wants to take that, I will pass it to you, Ms. Patunya. But Khomolemo, anyone who's in the panel who's eager to answer, let's please engage.
Let me come in and say I actually am not very well versed with neurodivergency, its needs, and even its very definition to the core. So I would let this one be answered by someone who's more knowledgeable in the subject.
Thank you so much, Petunia. I don't know if you want to take that, Miss Maleke, in terms of
Yeah.
how are we using, our platforms to be more inclusive towards mental health. It's not, even if it's not neurodivergence per se, but issues of mental health.
Okay. As a mental health advocate, one of the courses that was very important to have and gain accreditation for was the social counseling work qualification. Right now, we have a group of faith-based organization leaders. So these are like your pastors at different churches. We have those and we're upskilling them so that they can use their faith, but also be equipped with the skill of counseling people in the community. So that when somebody comes with whatever social issues, right? Maybe depression, anxiety, or just trauma or grief that they're dealing with at the moment. The pastor is not just using their faith and prayers to assist a person, but also has the skill and also knows the different referral pathways. What I can say about neurodivergency, something that I've picked up in our course offering is that there are students that struggle to learn. When you give them a textbook, they struggle to retain that information. And in the normal schooling system, these students would fail. However, in our skills development center, we've incorporated different methods of teaching. So in the class, it's mostly interactive. We're doing exercises, we're talking, we're unpacking the material because anybody can read through a textbook, right? But we really want them to come out with the understanding. And also, once a person understands and has obtained that skill, right? You've practiced over and over and they've obtained that skill. Now they are more employable. They're not just putting out their CVs and hoping, but they actually can create opportunities for themselves and for others. And another thing that we found is that some people, yes, they struggle with the textbook. So when you give them a video that they can rewind and play back, then they understand better. So it's just about incorporating different teaching methods. That's at least in my organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Maleki. Oh, I love how informative you are. You are absolutely a star. No, I see a hand from Moe. Do you want to ask something, Moe?